I was diagnosed with a form of juvenile rheumatoid arthritis at the age of 14. And I'd suffered from symptoms that we kind of were unaccounted for. We thought could be Lyme disease, fibromyalgia, all of these sorts of things for years before that, several years before that. And we didn't know that a specialist existed for some of the things that we were concerned about. So it took quite a while for us to be referred to a rheumatologist. And that was also during a time where the internet was not super, we couldn't do a Google search. So I think seeing that rheumatologist, that first rheumatologist, was obviously when I was first diagnosed, but I was treated not very aggressively at that time. It was basically blamed on a lot of growing pains and those sorts of things, which was not necessarily true for me. So up until the point I was about 18, I had only been treated with NSAIDs and things like that. And by the time I was 19, I had developed a large stomach ulcer from being on those NSAIDs, and was finally switched to something called a biologic. I was put on Enbrel. I did very well on Enbrel, but as most of these drugs do, they further compromise your immune system, which makes it really easy to contract infections, which happened to me pretty regularly on Enbrel, which was scary and dangerous. So I was switched off of Enbrel, and since then I've switched to 4 other biologics, and I'm just now, I've been on methotrexate for about 2 years, and I just started a infusion called Remicade, which is also a biologic. And it's just been, a lot of it has been kind of touch and go. I've really had to figure out with my doctors what seemed like the best option at the time. And because I have some comorbidities, we kind of have talked a lot about what medications could we use to treat both of these things so that you don't have to take 2 separate medications. I would say otherwise, my personal experience, a lot of it has been making myself remain somewhat active, making myself eat well, and making myself rest when I need to help control that inflammatory process in my body. And of course, to address other things as they come up. I have had a lot of complications with internal organs being affected by my RA and the inflammation as well. And so being real proactive about that, and kind of seeing the right people, and if my doctor refers me somewhere, me following through with that appointment to further evaluate those symptoms so that they don't get out of control. That's kind of been something I've really had to try hard to do. And I know that it feels very overwhelming to me sometimes, and I think would feel overwhelming to anyone. But kind of my take on it is that I do want to achieve remission one day if that's possible. And I think the only way that it will be possible is if I am compliant, and if I'm, figuring out what I need to do to treat my disease, and I'm open to doing those things and communicating with my doctor when need be.